Okay. First question, growing up in New Orleans and later Houston, ice skates are somewhat kind of an alien, and they play kind of a key vision or a visual aspect.
And we didn't shoot that on Lake Travis either.
Right, exactly. So that was one of the first question is, how did your location choices kind of factor in? Considering this is a Christmas movie, this is Texas, we don't typically have the Christmas landscape.
Right.
So
we actually went after the principal wrapped. We went up to north of Vancouver. I guess, was it one? Yeah, north of, no, actually, like Banff or something up there, and shot up there for a day. So one advantage is being a flashback. So we just brought in some younger kids to play our young version of Harry and his brother. So, okay. But it was pretty scenic, pretty beautiful up there. But yeah, we had to go pretty far north for snow.
And then just to follow up on that too. After 2005, there seemed to be a large kind of migration to doing some more mainstream, larger budget films in New Orleans, but we still haven't seen a lot of that in Texas. It seems like it's growing momentum. I know your past efforts in bringing film to Texas. So any comments on that about how you see that?
Well, the industry's really changed. Saturday Night Lights was like a $30 million movie, and I think that would be an $8 million movie now. Do you know what I mean? It's the industry, the whole, it's really changed. There used to be this sort of a $20, $30 million thing, and now it's south of 10. It seems like the whole. Don't you agree, Elizabeth? The
Absolutely,
whole industry's really changed.
It really has changed, and we all have to change with it. And part of the interesting thing for us was, I've never seen a movie that is a Christmas movie without snow.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was sort of for us really important. It was more about other things, and about and it's kind of neat to see people without a bunch of parkas.
Yeah.
It's actually really cool to see, and the weird little sweaters, but they're just sweaters, that Lovett's character wears, without having to cover them up with a bunch of parkas. But that's part of the reason that I was kind of interested in that, because I spend my Christmases here, and people don't realize. And by the way, we have less and less snow as the world goes,
yeah, exactly.
And then we get dumped on, in the United States. But it is a beautiful. For me, it became a lyrical movie instead of a Christmas movie, a movie about what we've been talking about, families and memories. So,
thank you.
Kind of jumping off of that, this is your second production with Aya Film, so I was kind of wondering what attracted you to this project to have it be your second.
Well, for one thing, I still do a lot of Trollmaker stuff, so I was in the middle of a lot. And Fred Miller had optioned the book and gotten the script written, the other producer, and he kept asking me to come on board, Many dinners.
I didn't realize till today that he had to seduce you over it sounds like a period of years.
He did only because it was 2 years, over, I guess, a year and a half, because we talked about it. Exactly, over a 2-year period, because I literally had just too much on my plate, and my attitude is, this is the plate I have, it's the size, it can't overflow. And because if I do something, I want to give it my time and my love and my energy to it. And so when we got together and did that, then we were like, who would be the best person that could really help us not only make the script into a really great movie, but also a great director that will guide the movie. And we had one meeting with Tim. And he said yes.
Everyone else was unavailable, so they...
Not true. By the way, not true at all. We didn't ask anybody else, by the way, Tim, just so that you know.
Okay.
And so we felt that he would bring to the table, but at the same time, already Willie and who can I say any more than that? Willie and Chris Christopherson had said yes, and I knew that would be what everybody would then go, can I? So Tim came up with the idea of bringing a lot of musicians to the table, since Lyle then signed on, and then Connie, they all just kept going, yes, yes. And then Harry, that was like our pipe dream. And I thought, that'll never happen.
He said yes.
And not only did he say yes, but he actually made room in his schedule to give himself.
That was how we knew we could make this movie.
Exactly.
Was when you were able to make time in your schedule, and then we could make everything else fit in terms of the puzzle.
Exactly.
But it wasn't until you said, okay, here's the number of weeks that I have, and I want to do this. Can you make it work? And we said, can we make it work? There's no other question to be asked.
It's a great problem to have, yes.
And so that's how
it became
really,
even much bigger for me as a producer and as a fan of all these people to make this movie. So So for me, this second day of production is a big. The first one was my son's movie, which I love, you know, and then this one. So it's I'm picky as to what to do next. But anyway, go ahead.
And then Chandler, this movie is full of amazing musicians. Did you have a background in music before, and do you now have a background in music?
Yeah. Music at the time, you know, it was just music. But after I did it, I wanted to learn guitar, so I've been playing guitar for 2 years now. So. Yeah.
So in the sequel,
No singing.
I thought the story had a lot of, you know, reminiscence of like great Christmas movies like Christmas Carol or Miracle on 34th Street and those kinds of aspects, but it was also very real, and it had a touch of those magical elements, but it wasn't overdone, and it wasn't, you know, like fairy tale.
Sure.
You caught those things. Is that what you intended?
Well, because Willie is magical,
Yeah,
so it's,
exactly.
you know, we didn't have to fake any of that. So.
Yeah. Is that what you intended, just to have that kind of just a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit of it. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole question mark who Willie is or isn't, and I think it's amazing. They got a big laugh when they first meet, and he says, "Just call me Nick." I mean, it's like people knew right away. Yeah, I thought, wow, that's really interesting. You know, they got it, and you know, and yeah. You want to keep it real, but it's a Christmas movie. You can get away with a little bit of you need a little bit of fairy dust, you know, a little bit of magic on it, because that's what Christmas is all about. So.
Right. And Harry, your music is just synonymous with Christmas. Like any Christmas occasion, you're going to hear your music. So everybody.
He's got simple Christmas albums.
Yeah. I mean, you're just part of it. So with that. You know, I'm sure you're often approached for Christmas events, music, movies, anything. What made you, like, what resonated with this movie and this character?
It really had nothing to do with Christmas at all. It had to do with this amazing family story. It had to do with our producers, Tim, and then when I found out who was going to be in it, it was like everybody else. That I just wanted to spend some time with Willie, with Chris, with Lyle, with all of these amazing people. I got to meet Chandler. I mean, those were all it had really nothing to do with Christmas at all. It just happened to be an incredible, sweet story, you know. It was funny, I wanted to tell you guys this. I won't mention these people's names. One of them was not my daughter, but there were two younger people who I knew that were here that saw the movie yesterday. And I said, isn't it exciting that I got to be on film with Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson? They had no idea.
Oh, really?
I mean, I said, are you sure? And then I started Googling. I said, well, don't you know, like, me and Bobby McGee? And I started showing people, remember with Barbara Streisand and then Willie Nelson? And they're like, I've never seen that person in my life. And I'm saying, which I find unfathomable, really. Yeah. But I think it's so great that this movie's made for just for that alone, just to introduce, because it's a family movie and young people will see it. Like Chandler, you know, he'll be 65 one day saying to his grandkids, "Look who I got a chance to work with." It's such an amazing. It's so rich with Americana. This movie, it's really wild.
Well, Willie Nelson is on the state flag, you know. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. I do have question, you know, some producers and, you know, Tim, the director. How easy was it to get Lyle Lovett in that kind of Christmas Ghostbusters outfit?
Well, you know, Lyle loved those sweaters. I mean, Lyle was so on board for being Mr. Crazy Christmas Guy. He's just such a delightful presence, you know what I mean? Just such a, I don't know what it is about Lyle, but he's the smile. I mean, I love getting that big, when you come in and ask for the ladder, that grin of his. Like I said, I just want to see the biggest held back grin, you know, for months, and he just lights up the room. I mean, he's just such a lovely, lovely guy.
Well, Tim said, I want Lyle to be the elf. I want him to be the elf across the street who is just crazy.
Well, in fact, I said that to Lyle. In fact, I said, you know, the real story is, he's Santa Claus, you're #1 elf. He goes, oh, I can work with that.
And the other part of it was that when we were done shooting, Lyle asked if he could have what we considered to be the worst looking of all of the sweaters as a gift. And so it was our privilege to do that. 1 year later, those sweaters are really hot. I mean, the uglier the sweater now, the hotter it is.
We should have owned those sweaters. We should have.
We've got,
Yeah, come on. Oh, yeah, that's right. They're
there are two things
we
that
should have the
we'll be
Angel
selling.
Sing line of Christmas
We'll be
sweaters.
selling the sweaters, and we'll be selling
Yeah.
Willie's vest
Yeah, there you
to Harley Davidson.
Yeah, there you go with the wings.
You might be wearing angel wings.
Yeah, wearing angel wings.
And one last question, specifically for Harry. So you do a lot. I was trying to do some more research, and it just said like everything under like the rest of it. So are
That's
you just
the problem.
Yeah.
So you
Blessing
just,
and a curse.
do you just you know the kind of guy who just you grab life by the horns? You just like doing everything, or is it okay to every once in a while just focus on one thing?
I like to do so many different things, and I'm so lucky because the coolest thing about this movie was that I got to be around two entirely different groups of people that I love to be around. Musicians, when I'm around musicians, it's a different sense of humor, it's a different pace, musicians are just different. Actors have their own deal. It's very rare that I get to work around both at the same time. So I was very excited to do this, and I do kind of take life by the horn. Life's too short, man. I just do stuff I like to do. I'm just so blessed that I get to wake up in the morning and have different choices. That's what works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but that's what I like to do.
Thank you.
If I can ask another one then. You said yesterday you believed in the heart of every musician was an actor.
You bet.
So I'd like to hear what Harry thinks about that statement.
I think so. I mean, I think about this a lot. Like, if you had a stage full of instruments and you had a movie set and you pull somebody off the street, what would they be better at? I think most people would probably be better naturally at acting than music. It's a different, this is hard to say without offending one group or the other, but you'd have an easier, if you took 10 people, you'd have an easier chance of pulling something out of them, I think, as an actor than you would of putting them at a piano or giving them a guitar. Because we're all people, and acting is about people. And musicians, I think, would have an easier time playing a role than somebody who hasn't had any experience at all. Even maybe a better chance at doing a great scene than some actors have. Because musicians have a way of, they think about things in a very potent way. When you sing a song, it's 3, 4, 5 minutes long, and you're telling a story. When you do that for years and years and years, you develop a skill at honing in on some emotion or some story in a very short amount of time. And when you're used to delivering words like that, I think it's a natural transition onto the set or the stage. It doesn't always work. I mean, God knows I've done tons of things that I think I'm horrible in, but I think the idea of it is there. You know what I mean? Musicians just seem to have a certain rhythm about them. Even not necessarily even singers too. You know, just the rhythm of music, for want of a better word, just kind of allows for that.
And then growing up in New Orleans, the music makes a lot of sense, but also New Orleans is full of a lot of very interesting characters, just the people there. So how does that, do you think that had a big influence on your ability to kind of span quite a range of characters?
New Orleans musicians are performers. I mean, they're all very, you know, a lot of like musicians that I've noticed in Austin, like the entertainment part of it isn't as much. Like, you know, Austin's really, the musicians here are about the music. Musicians in New Orleans are about the music and smiling and entertaining. They're very, very extroverted. I remember when I used to sit in on Bourbon Street when I was 6 and 7 years old, I'd come off stage and my mom and dad would send me right back and make sure that I shook everybody's hand and took a big bow and smiled. I mean, that's just, we learned that from Louis Armstrong. That's how we do it there. So it's a different kind of deal, and I think that fit with my personality. So which is why it's very, I like doing all kinds of things like that, you know. So I think New Orleans musicians are used to that kind of thing.